In this lesson, we're going to look at a couple of different ways of working with arrays, how to access the elements and some other just basic techniques of working with arrays. First thing we need to do is create an array to work with. Let's create an integer array, call it numbers, and let's begin by assigning it a list of data. We'll do 10 integers 1 through 10 as the beginning array elements. The elements of an array are accessed using subscript notation, just like we did with list elements. So for example, if I want to determine the sum of these elements, I'll write a for loop that starts at 0, and then we'll go through the length of the array. So I can use length. That's a property that's part of the array class and is available to any array object that you create. And then I can write sum plus equal numbers sub I. So that's the most important thing to see there, is that we use the subscript notation to access an element of the array. And then just to complete the program, we'll display the sum. Of course, I can directly access any elements that I want. So if I were just trying to sum, say, the first two elements, I might write the program like this. Let's comment those lines out. And 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. So that's right. Let's look at an example where we create an array in a loop. So we're going to comment out these lines that we've already used. We'll save them for later. Yes, we don't need sum anymore. Let's just delete that. So let's create a new array. An array of 10 elements. Before we write the loop, let's create a random number object. Now let's create the array using direct access in a loop to assign the initial elements. And again, we'll use the length as our means of stopping the array, a good property to use when looping through an array. Then we'll plus I, and then we'll say numbers sub I is equal to rand next, and we'll just say 101, like so. Then we can display the elements, same process. We'll put a space in between them, and let's run the program. And there are our array elements. If I want to compute the sum, again, very simple. Sum plus equal number sub I. We can write the sum out. If I want to compute the average, let's get rid of the sum. Again, I can use length as a means of determining the average. And the average is 42. We probably want to display it again, so let's copy a loop, add it in after we initialize the array, and let's write those out so that we can see the elements to determine if that average looks correct or not. Hard to tell when we don't know what the array elements are. And we need a console write line in between here, put a blank line. So we'll do that. And there's our whole program. Let's run it. And the average 63 is probably correct, looking at some of these 23s and 92s and 97s and 56s. So we've demonstrated most of the common techniques used in accessing arrays. So we'll wrap up the lesson at this point. What I'd like to do in the next lesson is talk about some special array methods that will make our work a little bit easier, that have something to do with array element access.